And now we want to get some perspective on what it was like inside the courtroom as that verdict came down.
And Fox's Morgan McKay saw it all unfold in real time. She joins us live in studio with more on what it was like inside. I mean, we witnessed history from the outside. You watched it from essentially the back of Donald Trump's head.
Exactly. So at about 4 o'clock, they started to bring everyone in, and no notes had come down yet. Usually when a note is passed down, a bell goes off in the courtroom and everyone freezes and gets all ready for potentially a verdict. But there hadn't been a bell that rang, and so we were a little confused while everyone was filtering in. And then at 4:15, the judge came out and said that he was going to be dismissing the jury at 4:30. So some reporters started packing up. Everyone started to tweet out, "Oh, no verdict today." Then at 4:35, the judge comes back and he said he received a note from the jury at 4:20, and they said that we, the jury, have reached a verdict. And you could hear an audible gasp in the courtroom, and Trump froze. He was stiff, his shoulders were stiff. You could tell Blanche, his attorney Todd Blanche, started whispering in his ear. Everyone's eyes were glued on the former president.
Right, because you're trying to figure out if he knows what that means. What do they think? Is that good or bad?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then they usher in the jury, and the jury is not making eye contact with Trump. They just head straight to their jury box. Then they ask, to read the jury, and as soon as that first guilty was read, from my stance, his shoulder froze. He was stoically staring ahead. His arms were crossed across his chest. Now, the sketch artist that was kind of parallel to him, she said that he closed his eyes and shook his head when he heard that first guilty. It was hard to see from my angle, but you could just tell he was just frozen. And his attorney, Todd Blanche, as they went guilty, guilty, guilty for all 34 charges, he started to put his head in his hand a little bit, and you could tell just the weight of that verdict. Then after they went through all 34 charges, the judge set the sentencing dates. And then Trump stood up, he sort of patted Eric Trump on the back, and he left. And I was expecting a little more of an angry reaction from Trump, but he looked honestly a little bit more emotional. He was kind of scanning the gallery. He didn't really look at any specific reporter. And then he walked out, and he, of course, addressed the reporters outside.
Was that immediately after he found out the news, or did he have time to go somewhere and compose himself before he gave the statement to the cameras?
Really?
Nope, he went straight for the camera. So between that walk, he probably processed it a little bit. Probably his attorney probably told him a couple of things, like, we're going to be appealing and different things like that. But the day started out just so much differently. It really started out with they reread some of the jury testimony, the witness testimony, and they really wanted to focus on David Pecker, who's a former publisher of the National Enquirer, and Michael Cohen. And they were really focused on this Trump Tower meeting in 2015, where Pecker said that he was going to be squashing any negative stories about Trump ahead of the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
it is really fascinating.
Yeah,
Morgan.
no one expected it to come down today. That was a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, great perspective from inside the courtroom. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for all your good work, Morgan.